What did you say?
MUDDA SICK dread.
What?
MUDDA SICK dread.
All right, well, MUDDA SICK. Well, MUDDA SICK. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Well, MUDDA SICK. It's been a while since we last came in this form and fashion. But I want you to believe that I have been very, very busy. And I have not been in my humble abode for a period of time that wasn't totally intentional because I've been literally having gigs or having events take place, and obviously you make time for rest due to my current work situation, which is subject to change in the near future, but we being a little bit more patient with that. So, as always, if you would like to sponsor this show with MUDDA SICK or Everything Cool or Tool for Cartoons, feel free to email us at theoriginalpeoplenetwork@gmail.com. Slide in our DMs. You can find us on TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, X/Twitter, and, any other platform I think I may have made an account for. Or, if you have my number personally, you can just hit me a message. We're looking for sponsors going forward. And that is going to be somewhat of the crux of my topic today. See, in the Bible, especially in the book of Proverbs, every time when Solomon says something that's very intuitive and thought-provoking, he ends it with Selah. And that would be the topic for today, Selah. Think and act on these things. Because in a lot of situations, not even a lot of situations, everyday scenarios, we come across different story patterns, timelines to where situations where we have to stop and think and say, let me sit and think about this. What can I learn from this situation? What can I learn from not just in my own experiences, but witnessing the experiences of others? We find that a lot of times that we want to get into people's business for our amusement, for the most part. Or it's just still amusement, whether you want to laugh at the person have make mockery at their expense, or just be nosy to be well aware of their information without actually having a conversation with any party involved into any particular situation. But do we ever sit back and look at any given situation and say, before I add my commentary or my thoughts to the situation, let me analyze it and see where I can learn from it? Are we often going through life without taking stock in what is going on around us and within us? So to say, okay, maybe I should make a different decision to that. Or maybe I should make a note of this because this may pay off dividends later for better or for worse. And my conclusion that is no. We do not. We go through life basically winging it when we don't have to, but we self-proclaim that we're so educated and so enlightened and so aware. But when it comes to things that we should be aware of, when it comes to things that we need to acknowledge as whether they may be a problem to prevent situations from happening or to be more proactive than reactive, we fail. I even count to myself. This is 2025. Technically next year December is gonna make 10 years since I came back home. 10 years since I've been planning to get to this point, but I hit it in year 8, 9, almost to 10. Because it took me a decade to almost get to the position where I am I feel totally liberated but lost at the same time. We get into the loss section part a little bit later on in another episode. But it took me 10 years of strategic planning, almost 10 years of strategic planning to get where I'm at right now. And I often look back in the things that I did right and I did wrong or what I could have done better. No, going back from 2016, I'm back on December 4th to 2016. I didn't know exactly what I was about to do. But I know I had to make certain things shake. I had to make up for lost time because at that point, I spent most of my time depressed and waiting for something to fall in my lap instead of going out and getting it. That was one mentality I had to get away from quickly because I couldn't get to my goals, and this wouldn't have been possible if I had just waited for the right moment or waited for someone to give me the opportunity versus going out there and trying to make something happen. And I said that to say from December 4, 2016. Now I am in a space where I made a name for myself. And not only made a name for myself, I have a good track record of being this innovative, creative person, always on the forefront of cutting edge when it comes to being innovative in my country and my community, as well as always having the eye to see towards the future, having hindsight and foresight and being present at the same time. And that didn't come overnight. That was honed in the dark. Being alone, sacrificing not being around people, still sacrificing not being around people, just to get ahead. And now this process could have been made a little bit smoother if I had certain hand-ups and certain like big time like mentors and things like that. But I never had no mentor. Like I just was listening, taking back different people's experiences and adding it to my own and trying to make something shake. And that's really what was the crux of it. If we think about the word Selah, oftentimes when I was younger, I used to pray for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in all things. Man, in all things, you should get wisdom. That should be the first thing. And wisdom requires you to be attentive. It requires you to not learn from your own mistakes, but a wise mind learns from the mistakes of others. So being aware, being present, not being aloof, and always being the constant listener. And so I took on those qualities and tried to hone those qualities, always lending the air to everybody, no matter who it was. You know, even when I get in my own head at times, I realized that there was a situation I actually recalled. It was a couple years ago where, there was moments when you're down in the dumps, you feeling sorry for yourself. It was a holiday weekend. Burger King was open. I remember this like day yesterday. Burger King was open. I was just sitting in the parking lot, just all to my lonesome. And a homeless man came up to me and was asking me for change. I was like, well, let me just do something nice. I gave him my change, what I had in the car. And he asked me one question. He's like, babe, on this big holiday weekend, why are you sitting in your car alone by yourself? And that stuck out to me. Because it was almost like my own thoughts was materializing outside of my body. And obviously, I probably gave him some stupid excuse as to why. Just so, you don't want people to be spotlighted by anybody if you're just going through whatever mental situation. But he left. We had a small conversation. He left, and it just stuck with me. Like, why am I sitting here alone on this beach during this big holiday by myself? It started to make me question, At that point, I know what I was doing in my life. I was just going through the hardest time in my life. This was post-pandemic, still jobless. Or I probably might have had a job by then. But I was just mentally broken. And there was more lessons I needed to learn at that point. But God would talk to you if he needed to get messages through you, it would be in the most unconventional way. Because, those small words of why you here sitting by yourself in your car on this big holiday weekend, that was like probably one sentence, spoke a whole book full of things that I needed to address at the time with myself. And that's how I got really into not letting my environment dictate how I feel about myself or how I should feel and how to enjoy life. And I've been on that path since then of enjoying life to its fullest, because I think that's around the same time not long after, that's when I was diagnosed with having irritable bowel syndrome. And obviously, this past week I was dealing a little bit with that. But understanding, you gotta just keep everything light, keep it easy, Understanding that I don't have to get frustrated by the occurrences of life, but just take stock and learn from it. Understanding where I am at and accepting where I was and who I am, and not trying to pray for this grand change because of who you trying to run competition with, but running your own race. And then I think the year after that, that's when, yes, it was. The year after that, no, not long after that, the conversation started beginning about me coming here to be the creative director at Chosen Few Studios. And after then, that's when I moved to my current job now. And that's when I learned I had to disappear from people. I couldn't be around. I got to go in the dark. So holidays, what was spent in my car sitting at Sanders Beach became holidays. I was in here freaking myself out. But just learning the lessons of self-love, learning the lessons on healing in the dark. Learn how to accept yourself and don't worry about nobody else because they ain't worrying about you. Think and act on these things. Selah. What do you do in the situations when you learn better to do better? Do you just acknowledge the wrong, or you stay in your delusion? And when you acknowledge the wrong, do you make it right afterwards? These are questions that we have to constantly ask ourselves. Because most of life's happenings that is happening to us is due to the fact, let me say that again. I was messed up with that. Most of the happenings of life that is occurring to us is based on our own perspective. We may be low for a moment, but we will bounce back because that is the cycle of life. There is a growing and a tearing down. But that isn't uncommon. So that means you don't get too low when there's the tearing down moment, and you don't get too high when you grow. You stay in the middle, understanding the cycle and balance of life. Selah. Think and act on these things. I think me not believing my own hype probably was the best thing that ever happened. Because it always kept me, people might say, oh, you don't celebrate your own accomplishments and things like that. I mean, I do. And then to a point in how I feel about myself is I feel like This ain't a surprise. This is supposed to happen because I put in the work. But at the same time, I'll tell you, ultimately, these things can mean nothing because there was nothing before and they can be nothing after if no one knows. They could all be given and they could all be taken away. One day you can have, I can have this whole setup and the next day could be gone due to whatever reason. But that won't deter me from my ultimate purpose, and it won't change my mood. I go back to, hey, I built it before and I'll build it again. Or I'll shift directions and be great at something else. Selah, think and act on these things. Oftentimes, I sit back and I've been questioning myself for a long time about feeling like the man on the moon, feeling like Dr. Manhattan. Your mind is moving faster than the environment around you. You're seeing the flaws and holes in everything to the point where life has become mundane and boring. Even now, I question myself, what do I do now that I have reached the pinnacle of my career in some regards? I never thought I would have been some cosplayer or like an internationally recognized cosplayer or an award-winning filmmaker by now. That wasn't even on the. I don't even think I had that on the my. What was the not to-do list? I think it's Go board or I can't remember what it. The bingo board. I didn't have that on my bingo board. Maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I know I just wanted to be great, and probably because I know more information than the average person. A lot of these things and all this awarding happens. That's what made me be like. Yeah, but nonetheless, I was enjoying the journey way more than actually winning the awards. I enjoyed doing these podcasts, whether it be Everything Cool and MUDDA SICK, 2 of her cartoons, way more than getting recognized by an award show. I was enjoying the edits on We Are Not Okay, the D6 project, way more than when we got awarded. And then when we got the premiere and having been in a newspaper and these things. They was just icing on the cake. But I still had the cake though. I was having way more fun Saturdays and Sundays and holidays coming inside there creating Jesse Summer content than making lists or coming on calendars. They was just icings on the cake. They didn't make their experience. And I think that's why I enjoyed it the most, because I wasn't doing it for an ultimate praise. I was doing it to go back to my early boy to enjoy life and to be fully in my purpose. To do the things that I was made to do. And just sitting back and thinking about it all, it's like, it's amazing. And I wish more people would have this sort of track on their lives. Don't do things because it is the status quo and you're trying to attain these status symbols to prove to somebody else you're supposed to belong. No. Do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. And most importantly, do what you're called to do. Not because you see this person doing this or this person doing that or following the sheeps. You got to break the matrix. And that's the next topic I'm going to talk about, being an agent of the system. But we ain't get there today. I want to just stick with something simple. Think and act on these things. Because what I realized recently too, back to the Dr. Manhattan point, I low-key Morpheus in the Matrix. Yeah. I'm Morpheus in the Matrix. I understand. I seen it. I understand it. I see the faults. I can complain about the status quo, but I could also be the one to usher change, and that's been my stance from day one. But I often have to question those around me, everyone. When do we sit back and think outside of ourselves about the happens that is going on and have that higher level insight, the higher level of consciousness? If you ever get to watch Homath, the levels of consciousness, please watch that. Like, because that's how I really truly understood how I was thinking and why it was a grand disconnect between me and my reality. But for once in your life, try to think outside yourself and your surroundings. Try to have that further understanding of life. People like to profess and say they're connected to their higher power, God, in the case of Christianity, but your life don't really reflect you connecting to the Creator, because if you did, you would see the fruit of it, and you wouldn't make the decisions and actions that you currently do. Because there's no way, in my eyes, you could continuously repeat the same things over and over and you're praying for change. That's just bottom line insanity, There's nowhere better way to put that. But I leave this with you. If you want change, you must sit down and reflect on your life. You must understand what you did wrong, what you did right. You must say the things that you're hiding and in denial about yourself out loud, so that you may understand and recognize these are things that you're dealing with and start to work towards fixing them. And then maybe we'll have a better world. Or you just have a better experience while you're here. But for now, in my opinion, you're living a very mediocre one if you're not fully self-aware and self-evolved. But that's just my opinion. But MUDDA SICK. Selah. Think and act on these things. You might agree with me, you might disagree with me. But let my life, for the most part, be an example on how I live in. I talk and I walk. I can't talk about self-change if I don't self-change myself. And I'm changing every day because I'm not perfect. I'm infallible. I have so much different things that is wrong with me, but I like just speaking out my flaws out loud so I can address them and show that I can bleed. Let's say you. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of MUDDA SICK. If you like these episodes, for sure, feel free to slide in our DMs. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, Threads, TikTok for more of this great content. And on that note, we got a lot of things I might do the same agents of system when I go to London in a few weeks. But for the most part, sit back and think about what I just said. Think about the different things that you could do better in your life. Think about how you could be better and all the unresolved feelings and emotions and thoughts and opinions that you deal with. And just think about, hey, if I just deal with these things, how much more freeing my existence on this earth could possibly be. Till next time, we can see y'all later. Peace.